Not everybody gets the warm fuzzies when you start to talk about God. And if God is an inescapable part of heaven, we've really got to investigate how are we going to be sure that God doesn't rub me the wrong way. You went in the first section saying, listen, heaven is not going to, you're not going to not like heaven because there's so much different, there's so much customization, there are so many different heavens, you're going to find the place that's right for you. But what if that doesn't fit? Well, what we're going to first look at is how there's sort of a parallel phenomenon with God, that there is, not that there are many gods, but there are many ways of connecting with this infinite divine. So we'll begin in Heaven and Hell 52. Where Swedenborg talks about the Lord appearing, God appearing as a person near us. When the Lord appears in the midst of angels, he does not appear surrounded by a crowd, but as a lone individual in angelic form. And I was talking with translator Jonathan Rose about that, and whether it means like he brings everyone together as if they're in a single body, or it just means he's just one person like everybody else, doesn't have an entourage. We could go into that. The point is, you're going to be able to, at times, experience the divine in some kind of personable, relatable form. And what it goes on to say in 55 is relevant to our topic today. When the Lord renders himself present in any particular community, his appearance depends on the nature of the good activity that community is engaged in. It is therefore not exactly the same in one community as in another. It is not that this difference is in the Lord, it is in the individuals who are seeing him from their own goodness and therefore in keeping with it. They are affected by the sight of him according to the quality of their own love. In a sense there, you have a customized God. Not that you can say, okay, I want God to be this or do this, but your heart and mind see life, experience life in a particular way, and because of that, you have a particular relationship to the divine that nobody else quite has in the same way. And because of that, that affects the way that God appears to you. Swedenborg talks about it on a community scale. And remember, in heaven, in the spiritual world, community is driven by affinity. So like attracts like, as they say. People who have similar, not the same, but similar deep purpose and desires and similar beliefs about the world come together with you, so you all see a similar and experience a similar God. So it would be kind of like this. If God is appearing in different communities, God is this colorful person there. So that's what God's always orange and yellow? No. If you're somewhere else where they have a different kind of love and a different kind of faith, maybe God looks a little different. Or over here, there's a different essence, a different interaction. It's all God, but it's like seeing something from different angles, or the different kinds of light that come out of different prisms. God is different, showing a different face and interfacing with us in a different way. And so this I take as an indication that you're not going to come up against an idea, an image of God that you don't vibe with. Vibe again. That you don't jive with. No, nobody says jive anymore. Okay, there's no more words to describe you don't harmonize with. Right? So God is definitely going to show you the thing that you resonate with. And not just like, oh, I'm putting up a front, but like, this is the part that you're connected with. And that makes me wonder if that accounts for other people's experiences as well. We found this interesting piece on neardeath.com where there was a woman named Margaret Tweddell, and we're going to show you a quote that she has here about Jesus and different appearances of Jesus to different people. Jesus shows himself to us according to our own understanding. If I want to think of him as a man who walked by the lake and a man who looked as the Jews looked at that time, then I'll see him in that way. If in my thought I think he's modern and bright, then I'll see him that way. We do not see him as the medieval painters made him. We see him as we, in our own selves, have pictured him, because otherwise we wouldn't recognize him. How would we know unless we have the picture already in our own being, in our own minds, in our own hearts? And what I feel like she's saying at the end resonates with Swedenborg's assertion that it's not that God is changing, it's that what our perception is changes. So the things that mean something to us affect how you experience this divine. And why, at this point, you may be wondering, or I thought that it's worth asking, why are we having this conversation in the first place? Why am I sitting here having to defend and say, no, that's all right. God is fine. God is cool. You're going to God is divine perfection, love, and wisdom. Why would we be needing to debate this? Shouldn't it be more like, wow, God's there, I'm going there. That's going to be awesome. Well, it's because, as I said before, God does not, the term God does not always evoke happiness and safety and security with people, because there has been a lot of misinformation disseminated about God. Just like you have misinformation about heaven that's causing people to say, well, the whole thing isn't true, I don't believe in it, or even if it is, I'll go to hell for the company. There's also been this blatant, what we would now call character assassination of God, this spreading of misinformation for other people's gain. God, we're going to say that God only supports what I say, that God likes me, he doesn't like you, he wants the same laws passed that I want passed. That's how people have put forward God to serve their own ends, and it's left us with a mess, with all kinds of pictures of gods that are irrational or angry or vindictive, or who favor a couple of people over everybody else. And that's, according to Swedenborg, according to many others, that's not how it is. That's not how God is at all. And that's not somebody you'd want to spend eternity. That'd be miserable to have to spend eternity with somebody like that. But luckily, it seems that universally, the people who actually experience God paint a very different picture of the divine, what it is like to meet the one who made us. So here we have a couple of quotes. Again, this is from neardeath.com. This is what it's like for people when they describe meeting what they believe to be God. This is from Barbara Springer. You can see here, I then became aware of a bright heavenly being. I felt as if I was in the presence of God. This being had light radiating from him, and he embraced me. And when he embraced me, I could feel the most powerful love. It is the greatest love that there is in the universe. There is no greater love. That's the greatest in the universe, greatest love in the, who doesn't like love? Okay. Jane Smith says, the closer one gets to God, the closer one comes to all the light, love, and knowledge in the universe. And if I said you're going somewhere and there's going to be God there, some people might, but if I said you're going somewhere and there's light, love, and knowledge there, nobody's going to turn that down. So God actually is a lot cooler, it seems, than he's often described. Next, God is love. This is from Betty Eady, who wrote a great book. God is love in its purest form. God perfectly understands our lack of knowledge. He knows that most of us do not remember our commitments to him. In his eyes, pardon me, God forgives that low throat clear if you would do the same. In his eyes, we are like little children, susceptible and even expected to make mistakes. So not this judging, condemning, scorekeeping God that we've heard of. And then finally, Howard Storm, who was kind enough to appear on our program a couple episodes back, 100 or something. I knew that this light, this radiance knew me. I don't know how to explain to you that I knew it knew me. I just did. As a matter of fact, I understood that it knew me better than my mother or father did. The luminous entity that embraced me knew me intimately and began to communicate a tremendous sense of knowledge. I knew that he knew everything about me, and I was being unconditionally loved and accepted. After what I had been through, to be completely known, accepted, and intensely loved by this being of light surpassed anything I had known or could have imagined. I began to cry, and the tears kept coming and coming, and I and this light, went up out of there. So whenever people are actually there, nobody's like, oh, it was terrible. I had to be hanging out with God, and God was loud and kept telling the same jokes and was obviously, judging my outfit. No, everybody's psyched to be with God. And that we can assume that because there's this intimate knowledge that Howard Storm talks about of that God has for us, similarly, that encounter will be just as wonderful for us as well. And Swedenborg gets in on it too. And Swedenborg is big into slamming and debunking everything he considers to be false information, egregious false information against God. So he says in True Christianity 56, you can see how insane people are who think that God can condemn anyone, curse anyone, throw anyone into hell, predestine anyone's soul to eternal death, avenge wrongs, or rage against or punish anyone. People are even more insane if they actually believe this, let alone teach it. In reality, God cannot turn away from us or even look at us with a frown. To do any such thing would be against his essence. And what is against his essence is against himself. So what we're trying to convince you of is that God is an asset to the heaven experience. That God is actually the peak of joy. When we encounter God, it is the best feeling that you can have. And having the best feeling you can have, I would say, only enhances a level of existence. So having God in heaven is not going to ruin it.